Chris Sims, his job is to analyze the draft, and he is brutally honest. He surprised me when I heard him on Doug Gottlieb's show where he was talking about Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow, and I went, Sims is doing it again. Pro Football Talk Live co-host and host of the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, what's up, Danny boy? How you doing, man? Miss you. You doing all right?
I'm doing okay. Let me start with Jordan Love going to the Packers. He didn't fall into their lap. They went up to get him. And why? Why did they move up to get him?
Well, I'd like to know the same answer to that question. I'm not sure I understand that either. Okay, two things jump out to me. The first thing being, who were they scared of that they thought might trade into the first round? There was no picks there on the board that were ahead of them at that moment that were going to take a quarterback. Now, I don't know if they felt like the Colts or, I don't know, maybe the Patriots or somebody else, I don't know, thought maybe they would trade back in the first round to get a quarterback. Certainly a possibility, but I have no knowledge of that. So that's curious to me right off the bat. And then two, yeah, Dan, I don't like it. Again, Aaron Rodgers, and especially in an era right now where we're seeing quarterbacks can play to 40 years old and still play at a really high level, Rodgers is still one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the sport. So to me, when I look at that, I just go, well, okay, yeah, I really like Jordan Love. He's a project, so he certainly needs to sit for a year, maybe 2. He's really raw. He's got great high-end talent. But I just wonder if Green Bay will ever really bear the fruits of anything they get out of the player, because I think by the time his second contract's coming around, Aaron Rodgers is still going to be playing quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. So I don't understand that, and, I would have liked to see them, Dan, go defensive tackle or something like that. They still haven't stopped the 49ers running. I mean, Mostert's still running from the NFC Championship game.
I think Tennessee at 30 or 29 might have been that team. If you're just looking at, they could afford to develop him in Tennessee. That was the thought I had. You go from 30 to 26. You got Tannehill there. He's a Band-Aid for a couple of years. And then maybe you get Jordan Love and you find your quarterback of the future. That was the thought that I had, when they made that move up. And the other part of this, Aaron Rodgers makes a whole lot of money the next 2 years. Then after that third year is not devastating against the cap. Does Aaron Rodgers end his career in Green Bay?
Well, I think it's dicey right now. I think, Aaron Rodgers, as we know, first off, he can be a little chippy, right? I mean, he can hold a grudge. We know that. Yeah. I think this is going to piss him off. I do. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to stick it to Green Bay 2 years from now and, I threw for 38 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Go ahead, have Jordan Love. I'll move on. See you later. And I mean, you're right. They're paying him a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money to where we're going at the quarterback position. I mean, crap. Jared Goff's making as much money as Aaron Rodgers, and they're not even in the same stratosphere. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be signing something for $40 million a year here soon. Dak Prescott is going to be making more money than Aaron Rodgers per year. So, yeah, it's just a head-scratcher to me. I just think it's, again, I understand accumulating quarterback talent, and at that position, there's great value to it. I just don't know if I see the value. To me, it's different than, Brett Favre was threatening to retire. Tom Brady, there was a slippage in play when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round, and I think the Patriots were truly concerned. And then of course, Tom Brady, he fixed a few things about his game and became better and was, amazing for another 4 or 5 year stretch. This to me smells a lot like John Elway and Maddox, who they drafted out of UCLA back in the early 90s, where, I don't know if this team's going to get anything out of this pick, and some other team might bear the fruits of his talent at some point.
Yeah, but Chris, I don't know if the Packers, the personality of Aaron Rodgers. You're aware of what this is going to do to him. Could this be on purpose that maybe you're gonna piss him off?
Yeah.
Like you want him that way. You know how great he is.
I mean, Dan, I think I thought of the same things, and I think it's a great point. You're right. Maybe this puts the pressure on him, you think, to raise his level of play.
I don't know.
Maybe it's some master plan to maybe what you're saying, to where they're going, okay, maybe we just don't want to pay that type of money 2 or 3 years from now on our roster, and they're willing to move on from a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I would doubt that, but, who knows? Maybe we're starting into a new age in football where teams are going to start looking to to make that switch to go with the young quarterback, not have that big number on the salary cap, because we've seen Seattle win a Super Bowl that way, Kansas City won a Super Bowl that way, the Eagles have won a Super Bowl that way. Maybe that'll be a new trend. I don't know. It's really interesting, and I think you bring up some good questions for sure.
He's Chris Sims, NBC Sports analyst, former NFL quarterback. Dolphins have a good day yesterday?
Yes, they did. You said it, Dan. I mean, yes, I'm not a huge fan of Tua. I certainly thought he was a first-round talent. I did. The injury history, the style of play, the size of the human being would concern me. I think for some reason people think this is like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, and he's going to be able to run around the field and play the way they play. And I would first off just argue and go, no, Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are the fastest people on their team. Like, they beat the receivers and the DBs in races. That's how fast they are. And even they have a hard time scrambling. So, yeah, with the injury history, it certainly concerns me, Dan. And when I really evaluated him, there was so many other plays where I came away going, ooh, did he hurt his knee? Ooh, did he hurt his shoulder? Ooh, did he hurt his ankle? And that concerned me as well, let alone, again, I don't want to bag on the player. I just think he's being overrated in the evaluation process a little bit. I think he's getting a lot of credit for the Alabama machine, in which it is, and we're in this era of we give the quarterback all the credit when things like that happen. And I think he's benefiting a little bit from that, and a little overhyped in my opinion from that standpoint.
What about the Chargers?
I mean, I love Justin Herbert. I do. So I understand them picking him at number 6. To him sitting there on the board, I could sit here and argue that I think he might have the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks in the draft. Now, people talk about issues. Listen, decision making, maybe not always perfect. I get that. But at the same time, I would say a lot of the issues I had with Justin Herbert, I came away going, well, it's a crappy offense. Oh, it's, there's not a lot of talent around him. The offense was choppy at times, but I didn't blame Justin Herbert. Listen, if you put Justin Herbert on LSU or Alabama, his stats and play was going to look a whole lot different. I can promise you that. So I think he's a big-time talent. And then the Chargers getting Kenneth Murray, Dan, later on in the first round and, the 20s there, man, this Chargers defense, they were already a borderline Super Bowl-type defense, and now you add this type of linebacker, that second level with Derwin James, a strong safety, and all the other talented guys they got, I go, wow, watch out for the Chargers.
Yeah, I felt the same way because we look at the Chargers and say, boy, that's quite an offense there. And I always remind people, the reason why I thought that they could have won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago was because they had a defense that went along with that great offense. And now you look at this situation with that defense is elite, or at least elite. It looks like it can be elite.
No, I mean I'm with you, Dan. I think you're spot on. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize even last year with the poor record, the Chargers were one of the 5 best defenses in football. And they got Linval Joseph in free agency. We know the pass rushers they have. They have Jerry Tillery, who was a first-round pick last year from Notre Dame, who is going to, I think, be a force to be reckoned with here in year 2. And then, you mentioned it, Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr. in free agency. Casey Hayward's already there. I mean, they got a very talented football team. And like you said, the offense is in a pretty good spot. They got to shore up that O-line a little bit here in rounds 2 and 3. But I'm with you. The Chargers are one I'm putting a little mark next to say watch out for in 2020.
How did Tom Brady do yesterday?
Well, first off, I mean, he's still got to be flying high about being down in Tampa, getting Gronk this week. I mean, that was awesome. Tristan Wirfs, I really applaud the move of the Buccaneers to try to get somebody to play right tackle. Tristan Wirfs did play right tackle at Iowa. I'll say I have some questions. Yes, I have some questions. Okay. In my evaluation, I thought Tristan Wirfs was more of a guard than a tackle. And they really need the tackle. Now, if he has to move to guard, that won't be the worst thing in the world. But, man.
That's a big guard, though, Chris.
It's a big guard. I know. I get it. I got you. But, the foot speed of the athlete does not match the numbers at the combine. When you watch film, and if anybody wants to go back there and watch the Penn State game, watch the Michigan game, and there's a few other games that are very concerning with people just beating him because of lack of foot speed. So I'm sure the Bucs did their due diligence there and feel like they can work with him in those areas. And I think nonetheless, it's a great thought, and they needed to protect Tom Brady if they want to play the style of football they want to play down in Tampa.
Best quarterback available tonight.
Oh, best quarterback available, I think for me is the kid Luton from Oregon State. Okay? Yeah, you know me. My list isn't always the same as everybody else.
I know.
But I look at him as good size, good arm, really consistent, accurate decision maker, can throw with a little power and anticipation. I think he's the next guy up for me that I look at to go, I would take a chance on him. It's either him or Nick Eason from Washington. It's one of those two. Eason's a little raw, Dan, but does have a big-time arm, and I think teams that value that are going to look at him and go, man, he makes a lot of awesome throws. There's some off-the-field issues with him. I think people not so sure how detailed and willing he is to work at the position and things like that, but he does have big talent.
Who made the move yesterday where you went, they have no idea what they're doing?
Oh, gosh, man. I guess the one that just makes me scratch my head the most it's either the Raiders pick with the kid Damon Arnett, right?
Ohio State.
Yes, I like the player. I think he was, top half of the second round, middle of the second round type of guy. But he's a true nickel corner, to my opinion. And, I don't like drafting corners that run 4, 5, 7 in the top 20 picks of the draft. I don't like drafting nose tackles who are 260 pounds either. To me, that's just a no-no. So there's things about his game I really like, definitely. I've really liked everything Mike Mayock has done to build the Oakland Raiders, except for his first picks in the first round the last 2 years.
They had Cleveland Farrell, and you're just going, wait a minute, what are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah. They could have got Cleveland Farrell at 34 or 44 last year in the draft.
Yeah.
And they took him off the field in pass rushing situations last year. So to me, a little bit of the draft and the beauty of it always is, and this, is the understanding of where players are going to be picked and the value of picking a player at that spot. I think they probably could have got this kid at the top of the second round if they really wanted to and had no issues with being worried about that. But either way, they fell in love with him. I was a little shocked by that and the Eagles with Jalen Reagor at pick 21.
I have you today, Jesse Palmer today, Mark Sanchez. Out of those three quarterbacks at their peaks, who had the best arm?
Oh, wow. Damn. Well, I'd like to say I had the best arm. I would like to say that. Now, I'm sure they're going to argue that. That's fine. They're definitely more handsome than me. I know that for sure. Damn, that's a good-looking group you're talking about there. Me and I've been around Palmer and Sanchez a little. Palmer a few times. They're both great guys. And Palmer, funny story, Dan. He's the Bachelor, right?
Yeah.
They asked me to be the Bachelor that same year when I was still the backup quarterback in Tampa Bay, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "John Gruden will just absolutely eviscerate me and might cut me if I end up committing to the Bachelor." And I heard that when
were
when
you
I
the
said,
choice before Palmer?
I don't know, but I know they asked me. I don't know if they were just waiting for one of us to answer or say yes, but that year they asked me as well. And I know I said no pretty quickly, and I don't know if they already had asked Jesse or were waiting for an answer. I don't know, but I know I was in the shuffle.
Okay, but Jesse does it. He's got Tom Coughlin as his coach. You just had Gruden as your coach. If you played for a different team, the interesting part is they asked Chris, and he thought about being the Bachelor, and he was married at the time. That's what I thought was really strange with that, Chris.
It is. My wife would have questioned that a little bit. But it was good publicity. So
if you played on another team, would you?
Yes. No, I would never have done it. Never.
Your dad would have crushed you.
Right. I grew up, with Phil Simms, who was coached under Bill Parcells. All right. Do you think that would have gone down? And I'd also say with Jesse Palmer, I don't know how long his career ended up being, but I would question that it might have been shorter than he would have liked because of that. But it worked out nonetheless. He's still kicking butt.
Oh, let's put it this way. He had a longer career off the field.
That's right. He definitely did, and he's kicking butt off the field,
Yeah.
so he shouldn't be ashamed for any decisions he made.
Yeah, he did well. Hey, great to talk to you again. Good stuff, and we appreciate your time as always, Chris.
Anytime, man. Be good, be safe. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Chris Sims, NBC Sports football analyst.